Just like FIFA, UEFA has officially sold out football. Meanwhile, the best player in the Prem right now isn't who you think, and Uzbekistan, having just qualified for the World Cup, make a bizarre managerial appointment. This is DMAC Daily. Remember back in 2021 when a dystopian Super League was announced? This awful concept that only served to benefit a select few ultra-wealthy clubs at the expense of literally everyone else throughout Europe's vast football ecosystem. But thanks to the collective actions of fans, a revolt ensued, and this awful idea was forced to collapse, at least for the time being. A phenomenal outcome for the future of football. But in the years that have since followed, this sport has continually been sold out to the highest bidder. From the expanded Club World Cup to the expanded Champions League format to the expanded 48-team World Cup in 2026, which they're planning to expand even further in 2030. And then there's the upcoming World Cup tickets themselves that are so exorbitantly priced that only the most privileged members of any given society could justify forking out that kind of money. Long story short, our football institutions have only served in the interests of ensuring maximum profitability. They don't care about the fans who are being priced out, the players themselves whose physical workloads are becoming unmanageable, the environmental impact of hosting a World Cup in 6 different countries at once, or the sanctity of the sport itself. Now, it brings me no joy to say this, but it's only going to get worse, as UEFA have, quote, regrettably approved a landmark decision to host La Liga and Serie A fixtures abroad. La Liga had been looking to host a fixture overseas for years, and they finally locked in a date, the 21st of December 2025, with Villarreal's home match against Barcelona moved to Miami, Florida, whilst the Serie A has pushed for Como v AC Milan to be hosted over 13,000 kilometers away in Perth, Australia. No other European regular season match had ever been scheduled abroad, but with UEFA's approval, they have now opened the door to this, and it will never be the same. Because I'm telling you right now, these games will generate millions of dollars in revenue. If you were to judge this concept solely through financial metrics alone, then sure, this will almost certainly be a brilliant idea. But if you have any interest in upholding the sporting integrity of these competitions, or preserving the dedicated local fans that pay significant amounts of money to support their respective clubs, this should be entirely rejected. And some will say, well, it's just one game, right? Well, sure, it is for now. That one game in isolation completely compromises a league. Barcelona will get to play the 3rd place team in La Liga once at home, and instead of an away fixture, it will be at a neutral venue in a different country, which, let's be honest, will heavily favor Barca fans. How is that fair to title rivals Real Madrid? How is that fair to Villarreal? How is that fair to any other La Liga team? Beyond that, why stop at just one game? UEFA reiterate that it has granted the decision on an exceptional basis amid regulatory gaps at global level. But instead of fighting this in the courts to preserve the game's integrity at all costs, even if it is a doomed cause, they simply bent the knee instead. UEFA's president Seferin said their decision should not be seen as setting a precedent, but that statement in itself is comically hypocritical. You are trying to save face by appealing to the overwhelming majority of football fans who are entirely against this, whilst simultaneously greenlighting the whole damn thing. This man, like all the top dogs at UEFA, FIFA, La Liga, and the Serie A, are greedy cowards. Look, the reality is that La Liga and the Serie A cannot compete with the financial muscle of the Premier League currently. But instead of attempting to sustainably innovate their products, like the Bundesliga for instance, who are opening their TV rights to prominent content creators, or Ligue 1, who have created their own digital streaming platform in-house, La Liga and the Serie A have just decided to sell out their own devoted fans, and in doing so, have irreparably distorted their own competitions. It's a band-aid fix that will only amplify their woes in the long run. I hate to be so doom and gloom about the trajectory of this sport, but it's very clear we're just Americanizing. The NBA, the NFL, the MLB have all seen financial success by hosting games abroad. But is this what we want football to become? Switching gears to the Premier League, and if I asked you at the beginning of the season, who would be the division's best performer come October, a few names would have probably come to mind. PFA Player of the Year award winner Mo Salah, the robot himself Erling Haaland, fellow Nordic striker Viktor Gyökeres, or perhaps either of Liverpool's 2 Premier League record transfer signings. Now, whilst Haaland has maintained his phenomenal goal-scoring prowess as the league's top scorer, carrying City with 67% of their Premier League goal involvements this season, there's a player way ahead of him in that department, contributing a staggering 82% in Antoine Semenyo at High Flyers Bournemouth. Let me tell you, this guy's journey to the top has been genuinely insane. 7 years ago, my guy was featuring in the 6th tier of England for Bath City and would spend 6 seasons in the EFL before landing a deal with Bournemouth. In the following 2 years, he has gone from strength to strength. Last campaign, he hit double-digit goals in the Premier League, and in 25-26, he's become prolific. 6 goals, 3 assists from the winger in just 7 games. The talisman in this outstanding Bournemouth side. Semenyo has been borderline unplayable. Absolutely rapid, physically elite, terrifying in the 1v1. He's 2-footed and is a brilliant finisher too. Bournemouth sold some big names this summer, including Zabarnyi to PSG, Haugen to Real Madrid, Kerkesh to Liverpool, Utara to Brentford, and many more. Over £206 million in total, yet they managed to keep a hold of Semenyo, and now all the Premier League giants are suddenly swarming. Bournemouth have reportedly set a £100 million price tag for the 25-year-old Ghanaian, which seems steep, but this winger has become unstoppable. Justin Kluivert claimed he's world class, and fellow teammate Alex Scott was similarly full of admiration, stating Semenyo, best in the league. There are shades of Mbeumo, Olise, Eze, in that this is a player balling out in a team outside of the traditional Big Six, yet appears more than capable of playing at the highest level. With all due respect to Bournemouth, who are doing incredible things this season, a major transfer elsewhere seems inevitable. But it begs the question, where to next? Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, amongst a host of others. I think he walks into most teams on current form right now. Moving to international news, and the Uzbekistan national team, fresh off of qualifying for the World Cup for the first time in the independent nation's history, have made the shocking decision to appoint Fabio Cannavaro as their manager. Now, at face value, this may sound like a marquee managerial swoop. After all, the Italian is a legend of the game, a Ballon d'Or recipient, and best of all, a World Cup winner with Italy. But there are many reasons as to why this decision may not be all that wise. Back in January 2025, and Uzbekistan were deeply saddened by the news that their manager, Shreko Katanek, had to step down due to health problems. Under his leadership, Uzbekistan had reached the Asian Cup quarterfinals, narrowly exiting on penalties to the host nation. Katanek also had the White Wolves in sight of World Cup qualification. Uzbekistan then opted for a national hero in Timur Kapadze, who had overseen his nation's U23 side reach their first ever Olympic Games. He stepped into the senior team and did a phenomenal job, remaining undefeated in 4 World Cup qualifiers as Uzbekistan finished in 2nd place and historically qualified. On top of that, he led his country to their first international silverware since 1994, winning the CAFA Nations Cup. By all accounts, he performed exceptionally. However, their football federation has opted to demote him to assistant manager in order to bring in Cannavaro, a perplexing decision when you look at Cannavaro's managerial history. The Italian has only coached at the international stages on one previous occasion with China back in 2019, where he lasted 2 games, losing both. In his last 3 gigs, he was sacked by Benevento in the Serie B with a 17% win rate. He did manage to save Udinese from relegation in a 6-game stint, but in his next job, Dinamo Zagreb, he lasted just 5 months before being sacked and was widely criticized for his failures at the club. So there are legitimate questions to be asked as to why he was considered the appropriate man for the job. Because reputation and achievements as a player aside, he is an unproven manager for both club and country. Is this the type of coach you want overseeing a potential golden generation? Personally, I think it was a crazy decision. Interim coach Kapadze appeared more than capable, but maybe as an assistant, he and Cannavaro can conjure up something special in 2026. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks as always for tuning in, and I'll catch you tomorrow.